Captain Elias Ward had never seen a place like Zyphora before. The planet's capital gleamed under twin suns, casting golden reflections over the crystalline towers that stretched like fingers into the sky. The streets of the interstellar hub were alive with creatures of every shape and color. Some floated using wings made of light. Others moved with many legs, and a few had skin that shimmered like liquid metal. Humans were rare here, and Elias could feel the curious eyes of alien pedestrians following his every step. He adjusted the strap of his satchel and took a deep breath. As a human explorer, he had traveled to several distant systems, but nothing had prepared him for the energy of this planet. Zyphora was more than a trading hub. It was a place where cultures from hundreds of star systems collided, sharing knowledge, technology, and art in ways humans could barely comprehend. "Keep your head up, Ward," said Lieutenant Mara, his second in command. She was a sharp-minded human with a reputation for calm under pressure. "The palace gardens aren't like any diplomatic site we visited. Stay respectful and don't wander off." Elias smiled. "Wander off, me? Never." He trailed behind her, though curiosity bubbled inside him like a storm. Everywhere he looked, the air seemed to hum with life. Strange plants floated mid-air, their leaves turning colors like liquid rainbows. Paths twisted unpredictably, and bridges made of translucent materials seemed to hover over the city below. It was beautiful, and a little terrifying. As the delegation approached the palace, they were greeted by Zyphoran officials, who had skin that reflected the light of the twin suns in soft, glowing patterns. One of them, a tall figure with violet-hued skin, bowed gracefully. "Welcome, humans. You honor us with your presence. Please follow me to the gardens." The gardens were a wonder beyond imagination. Crystalline fountains sent streams of water into the air, which turned into a sparkling mist before reaching the ground. Plants with radiant petals sang faint notes as the wind passed through them. Elias felt like he had stepped into a living painting, one that pulsed with light, color, and sound. "That's incredible," he whispered, almost to himself. Mara gave him a look. "Try to keep the whispers to yourself, Ward. You're a guest here, not a tourist." Elias chuckled softly, but his attention was already caught by movement ahead. A figure glided across a bridge of floating light, her presence commanding yet graceful. She was tall, elegant, with shimmering skin that seemed to flow like liquid silver. Her eyes glowed softly in shades of violet and gold, and her hair floated as if underwater, defying gravity. Elias's heart skipped a beat. "That must be Princess Lyra," Mara whispered. "Do not make a scene." But Elias could not look away. He had heard stories of Zyphoran royalty, but seeing her in person was unlike anything he imagined. She radiated a quiet confidence, and yet there was a hint of curiosity in her gaze. She paused for a moment as if sensing his presence, and their eyes met. Elias felt a strange warmth, a pull he had never felt before. He took a step forward, then another, his mind racing. "Do I introduce myself? Wait, do I bow? Or shake hands? Do they even do that here?" Before he could decide, a small misstep caused him to stumble into a glowing bush. The bush quivered, emitting soft, musical notes. Elias stumbled forward and collided gently with the princess herself. "Oh," he exclaimed, stepping back quickly. "I'm so sorry." Princess Lyra looked down at him and smiled, a slow, amused smile that made Elias's knees feel weak. "Careful, human. These gardens are not made for clumsy steps." Elias blinked. I didn't mean to." Lyra laughed, a soft melodic sound that seemed to blend with the music of the plants. "It is all right. You are not the first human to be amazed by Zyphora, but you are the first I have seen with such honest surprise." Elias's cheeks warmed. "I'm Captain Elias Ward. I come from Earth. I represent the human delegation." Lyra tilted her head slightly, her hair floating gently around her shoulders. "Elias Ward," she said, testing the sound of his name. "A human explorer. That is interesting. I have heard many stories of your people. Few are brave enough to travel so far." Elias felt a sudden courage, fueled by admiration and a strange impulse he could not explain. He leaned slightly closer and whispered, "I want to marry you." The words seemed to hang in the air, and for a moment, time itself seemed to pause. Lyra's eyes widened just slightly, and then a smile curved across her lips, a smile that was both playful and mysterious. "You are bold," she said softly. "Few humans have the courage to speak so freely. And yet, you are not foolish. Perhaps there is more to you than the tales say." Elias swallowed hard. I don't know if this is proper. Lyra stepped closer, her presence almost magnetic. Human, she said, her voice gentle but firm. You have whispered something most do not dare. In Xiphora, words hold weight. You have made a declaration. And now, she paused, letting her eyes sparkle with amusement. You will be tested. Elias felt a mix of fear and excitement. Tested, he asked. What do you mean? Lyra looked around the gardens, then back at him. If one wishes to marry a princess of Xiphora, one must pass the trials of courage, wisdom, and heart. These trials are not easy, and they are not for the faint of spirit. You have spoken boldly. Now you must prove that your heart is as strong as your words. Elias's mind raced. He had faced dangerous planets, hostile creatures, and political negotiations, but this was something entirely new. And yet he felt a spark inside him, a part of him that welcomed the challenge. I will do it, he said firmly. I will face your trials. Lyra's smile widened, a mixture of approval and curiosity. Very well, human. You have courage. That is the first quality a Xiphoran must have. But remember, courage alone is not enough. Wisdom and heart are far more difficult to master. A small crowd of Xiphoran courtiers had gathered, watching the unusual exchange with fascination. Some whispered to one another, impressed by Elias's boldness, while others looked skeptical. Humans were rare in Xiphoran courts, and most were cautious, polite, and reserved. Elias had done something unexpected, and it had drawn everyone's attention. Mara stepped up beside him, looking both worried and impressed. Ward, you do realize what you just said? Yes, Elias replied, taking a deep breath. And I am ready for whatever comes next. Lyra turned to the assembled courtiers. Prepare the first trial, she commanded. We will see if this human is worthy of Xiphora. If he succeeds, he will continue. If he fails, she let the words hang in the air, leaving the implication unspoken but clear. Elias felt a chill run down his spine, yet beneath the fear there was a thrill unlike anything he had known. For the first time in his life, he was part of something larger than exploration or diplomacy. He was part of a story that could bridge worlds, if he could survive the trials. As the delegation followed Lyra deeper into the gardens, Elias took one last look at the shimmering towers of Xiphora, the floating bridges and the sparkling plants. He felt a strange mix of awe, excitement, and anticipation. Somewhere in the distance, the twin suns reflected off the water in a golden glow, and he realized that this was only the beginning. And in that moment, as Lyra's gaze met his once more, Elias understood something very important. Courage was not just about facing danger. It was about taking a step into the unknown, daring to speak truthfully, and trusting that the heart could guide him through trials no human had ever faced before. The first trial awaited, and with it, a journey that would test not just his skill and courage, but his very understanding of what it meant to be human, and what it could mean to be worthy of an alien princess. With his heart racing, he whispered to himself, I can do this. I must do this. Princess Lyra's smile lingered, a quiet promise of the challenges ahead, and Elias knew deep in his core that life on Xiphora would never be the same again. Elias's heart pounded as he followed Princess Lyra through the winding paths of Xiphora's gardens. Each step brought new wonders, plants that shimmered in soft pastels, fountains that sang in gentle tones, and bridges that glowed faintly underfoot. It was beautiful, yes, but also unnerving. This was no ordinary garden. It was a place where every step could be a test, every sight a challenge. You must understand, Elias, Lyra said, her voice calm but firm. These trials are not games. They are meant to test the deepest parts of your character. Courage alone will not save you. Wisdom and heart are far more important. I understand, Elias replied. I am ready. Lyra studied him for a moment, her eyes glimmering. Good, the first trial is one of courage. Follow me. They reached a wide chasm over which floated a narrow bridge made entirely of crystalline shards. The bridge shimmered in the sunlight, but it wavered slightly, moving as if it were alive. Beneath it stretched a glowing abyss, swirling with colors Elias could not name. The drop was dizzying, and the air itself seemed to hum with energy. Step carefully, Lyra instructed. The bridge responds to fear. If you doubt yourself, it may not hold. Elias swallowed hard. He had faced dangerous planets, hostile creatures, and even enemy ships, but this was different. There was no weapon, no shield, only his own balance, focus, and courage. He placed his first foot on the bridge. It wavered slightly, but held. He took another step, feeling the strange energy beneath his soles. It was as if the bridge could sense his heartbeat. He forced himself to breathe evenly and concentrate. Halfway across, a strong wind gusted from the chasm below. Elias stumbled, heart racing. He instinctively grabbed a floating vine that hung nearby and steadied himself. "Steady, just steady," he whispered. He looked up and saw Lyra watching silently, a small approving smile on her lips. Step by step, he crossed the bridge, his mind focused entirely on the path ahead. When he reached the other side, his legs felt like jelly, but he had made it. Lyra nodded. "Courage is not the absence of fear," she said softly. "It is acting despite it. You have passed the first trial." Elias exhaled, relief washing over him, but there was no time to celebrate. Lyra led him to a second challenge, a labyrinth of floating platforms surrounded by strange singing plants. Each plant emitted a note when touched, and the platform shifted in response to the sound. "This is a trial of wisdom," Lyra explained. "You must find the correct path by understanding the patterns of the plants. Many who are clever in one world fail here because they cannot see the rhythm of Zyphora." Elias studied the plants, watching how their notes echoed and intertwined. He listened carefully, letting the sounds guide his movements. Slowly he began to notice a pattern. Certain sequences repeated, and the platforms responded in predictable ways when he touched the right plants in order. He took a deep breath and began stepping from platform to platform, tapping the plants in the rhythm he had learned. Some platforms trembled dangerously, others glowed with a warm light, and the notes of the plants rose and fell like a gentle melody. At one point, he misstepped, touching the wrong plant. A platform beneath him wavered, and he had to leap to the next one, barely catching his balance. His heart pounded, but he focused, trusting the logic he had pieced together. Finally, he reached the end of the labyrinth. Lyra was waiting, her glowing eyes reflecting pride. "Wisdom is not only about knowledge," she said. "It is also about observation, patience, and understanding. You have demonstrated all three." Elias felt a small surge of confidence. 2 trials down, 1 to go. But Lyra's voice reminded him of the final and most important test. "The last trial is the trial of the heart," she said. "It is the most difficult because it reveals who you truly are. A Ziphoran may pass the first 2 trials but fail here. The heart cannot be deceived." They reached a small clearing where a rare Ziphoran creature lay trapped in a crystalline cage. Its eyes were large and luminous, filled with fear. Nearby, a pedestal held a glowing artifact, the symbol of wealth, power, and status in Zyphora. "You may choose to claim the artifact," Lyra explained, "or free the creature. Your choice will show the true nature of your heart." Elias hesitated, glancing at the shimmering treasure. It was tempting. Wealth beyond human imagination, enough to gain respect from any court or delegation. But then he looked at the creature, trembling and clearly in pain. His decision came without hesitation. He knelt and carefully unlocked the cage, whispering words of comfort. The creature hesitated, then nuzzled his hand in gratitude before darting into the safety of the forest. Elias stood, breathing deeply, knowing he had made the right choice. Lyra's smile was radiant. "Compassion is the greatest strength a being can have. You have passed the trial of the heart." Elias felt a wave of relief and pride. He had done it. He had faced fear, demonstrated wisdom, and shown compassion. But beyond that, he felt something more. A connection to this world and to the princess who had challenged him to grow. Lyra stepped closer. "You have proven yourself worthy, human. Your courage, wisdom, and heart are admirable. Few Zyphorans even reach this level of balance. You are unusual." Elias laughed softly, a mixture of exhaustion and happiness. "I think humans are more capable than you might expect." Lyra tilted her head, a teasing glimmer in her eyes. "Perhaps, but this is only the beginning. There is one final trial beyond the garden, beyond the palace, a trial that requires both of us to work together. It will test not just your skills, but your spirit and partnership." Elias's curiosity surged. "A final trial? What do I have to do?" "You will see soon," Lyra said. "For now, rest, observe, learn. Tomorrow, you will begin the journey that will determine whether your words, your promise, can become reality." As the sun dipped behind Zyphora's twin suns, casting long golden shadows across the garden, Elias sat quietly on a floating bench. The trials had pushed him to the edge of his limits, But they had also revealed something remarkable. Humans could rise to challenges that no one expected, combining ingenuity, courage, and compassion in ways even the most advanced alien civilizations might underestimate. Mara joined him, her expression a mix of admiration and relief. "I didn't think you'd do it," she said. "I didn't either," Elias admitted, smiling. "But somehow, I felt I had to. It's not just about me anymore. There's something bigger at stake here, something worth trying for." He glanced at the palace in the distance where Lyra's silhouette glimmered in the fading light. A sense of purpose filled him. The trials had tested him in ways he could not have imagined. But they had also shown the best of what it meant to be human, brave, clever, and compassionate. And as he watched the stars begin to appear in Zyphora's sky, he whispered quietly to himself, "Whatever comes next, I will face it. I must." Because deep inside he knew that the trials were not merely about winning a princess's hand. They were about proving that humanity, in its curiosity, courage, and kindness, could stand among the stars, and maybe even inspire a new path between worlds. And so, with heart steady and mind sharp, Elias prepared for the next challenge, unaware that the real trial, the one that would test him more than any bridge, puzzle, or choice, was still waiting in the stars. The next morning, Elias awoke to the soft golden light of Zyphora's twin suns streaming through the palace windows. The trials in the garden had tested his courage, wisdom, and heart. But Lyra had warned him that the greatest challenge still awaited, one that would take them beyond the palace, beyond the planet into the vast expanse of space itself. Elias followed Lyra through the palace corridors, his steps echoing against polished crystalline floors. Courtiers and attendants glanced curiously at the human who had passed the trials of courage, wisdom, and heart. Whispers followed him, some in awe, others skeptical, but Elias did not falter. Every step brought him closer to the unknown, and a strange thrill stirred inside him. At the docking bay, a sleek spacecraft waited, its hull shimmering with alien energy. Lyra gestured toward it, her expression serene but serious. "This vessel is powered by Zyphoran technology, designed to navigate both asteroid fields and the more dangerous regions of our system. The final trial will test your adaptability, judgment, and partnership." Elias ran a hand along the smooth surface of the craft, marveling at its design. "I've piloted many ships," he said, "but nothing like this." Lyra smiled faintly. "You will learn quickly. There is little time for hesitation. Space does not wait, and neither do the challenges you will face." As they boarded, Elias was struck by the advanced control panels, which responded to thought as much as to touch. Lyra moved with ease, guiding him through the basics. Within minutes, he was controlling part of the ship, feeling the subtle hum of the alien engines beneath his hands. The hatch closed, and the craft lifted smoothly into the sky, gliding past Zyphora's floating gardens and crystalline towers. Below them, the city looked like a sparkling jewel against the purple and orange hues of the twin sunsets. Lyra spoke, her voice calm yet firm. "Our destination is the Celestial Labyrinth, a region of dense asteroid fields and energy storms. There your final trial begins. You must navigate these hazards, but the challenge is more than skill. You must act with patience, intelligence, and trust, both in yourself and in me." Elias nodded, his nerves tingling with anticipation. "I'm ready." The first stretch of space was peaceful, with the ship gliding silently among drifting asteroids. Elias marveled at the view. Asteroids of all sizes, glowing with alien minerals, floating silently in the void. But the calm did not last long. A sudden alarm sounded, and the ship shuddered as an energy storm erupted ahead. Electric arcs danced across space, twisting and crackling with dangerous intensity. Lyra's hands moved fluidly over the controls, guiding the ship through the storm. "Hold steady," she said. "Predict the energy currents and we can pass safely. Hesitation will cost us dearly." Elias focused, watching the patterns of the storm. His mind raced to analyze the energy flows, recalling lessons from the lab simulations he had studied before leaving Earth. Slowly, carefully, he adjusted the controls, anticipating the storm's twists and surges. The ship responded smoothly, avoiding the deadly arcs of energy. "You learn quickly," Lyra remarked, a note of approval in her voice. "Humans are more adaptable than many give them credit for." Elias allowed himself a small smile, feeling a surge of pride. "I've had to adapt before," he said. "But this, This is something else entirely. As they exited the storm, the next challenge appeared. A narrow corridor of floating asteroids that twisted and shifted unpredictably. One wrong move and the ship could be smashed into pieces. Lyra pointed toward a cluster of asteroids that moved together in a strange pattern. "Follow the rhythm," she instructed. "We must move as one with the labyrinth." Elias's heart pounded. He had piloted dangerous ships before, but nothing tested both his reflexes and his ability to think ahead like this. Carefully, he guided the craft, timing each maneuver with precision. The asteroids moved as if alive, creating new gaps and closing old ones. Every second was a test of focus, judgment, and courage. At one point, an asteroid surged unexpectedly, and the ship was forced to swerve violently. Elias gritted his teeth and acted instinctively, stabilizing the craft with a sudden burst of energy. Lyra's eyes gleamed with admiration. "You are remarkable," she said softly. "Few Zypherans could handle this with such calm and clarity. You have the heart of a true explorer." Elias felt his chest swell with pride, but there was no time to dwell on praise. Ahead, a shadow moved. Another ship, fast and sleek, bearing the markings of a rogue Zephoran faction. They had learned of the princess's trials and intended to capture her for political gain. "Enemy ship," Lyra warned. "They seek to stop us." "You must act," Elias's mind raced. He quickly analyzed the trajectories predicting the enemy's approach. Using the alien controls, he initiated a clever maneuver, luring the rogue ship into a field of small energy clouds that disrupted its engines. Sparks flew across space as the enemy craft struggled to maintain control. Lyra nodded approvingly. "Clever. Humans are unpredictable in the best way. You use your mind as well as your courage." Elias felt a thrill unlike any he had experienced before. The danger, the speed, the need to trust both his instincts and Lyra's guidance, it was exhilarating. Together they maneuvered past the rogue ship, escaping unscathed. After the danger passed, Lyra glanced at Elias with a small, teasing smile. "You are quick to think, brave to act, and compassionate in your choices. These are qualities that few possess. I am beginning to see why you are unusual, human." Elias laughed softly, wiping sweat from his brow. "I never expected my trials to involve enemy ships." Lyra's eyes softened, her glow gentle in the dim light of distant stars. "The trials are not merely physical. They reveal the essence of who you are. Your courage, ingenuity, and heart are tested at every turn. And in this trial you have proven all three." For a moment silence filled the cabin. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, a canvas of black and silver that reminded Elias of the smallness of humanity, and yet the potential greatness within. He realized that humans could rise to challenges that even the most advanced civilizations might underestimate. Finally, Lyra spoke, her voice low and sincere. "Elias, the final challenge is not yet over. The journey through space tests skill, but the next step will test partnership. You and I must work together, trusting each other completely. Only then will the trial be complete." Elias nodded, understanding. "I trust you, Lyra, and I hope you trust me." Her smile deepened, a quiet warmth shining from her glowing eyes. "I do, that is why I chose you for this trial. Few could navigate the garden, solve the puzzles, and show compassion for living beings. Even fewer could handle the labyrinth of space and emerge with both skill and heart intact. You are ready for the next step." As the ship glided through the stars, Elias felt a mix of excitement and anticipation. The partnership between human and Zypheran princess was more than a trial. It was a chance to show that two species, so different in origin, could work together, overcome danger, and achieve what neither could alone. He glanced at Lyra, her eyes focused on the instruments yet aware of his presence. There was trust, respect, and perhaps the beginning of something deeper. In that moment, he understood why he had whispered his bold words in the garden. This journey was about more than courage or trials. It was about connection, understanding, and the limitless potential of humanity. The ship moved steadily into the heart of the celestial labyrinth, and Elias felt a thrill course through him. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, filled with danger and wonder. But with Lyra at his side, he felt ready for anything. Whatever lay ahead, rogue ships, energy storms, or the unknown challenges of the cosmos, he knew they would face it together. And in that partnership, he felt a strength and hope that reached beyond himself, beyond humanity, into the stars themselves. Elias leaned back slightly, allowing himself a moment to breathe. The trials had tested him in ways he could not have imagined, and yet each test had also revealed something extraordinary. Humans, despite being young in the galaxy, possessed ingenuity, courage, and heart that could shine even among advanced alien civilizations. As the celestial labyrinth stretched ahead, mysterious, dangerous, and beautiful, Elias whispered quietly to himself, "We can do this. Together we can do anything." Lyra's smile met his, silent but full of promise, and Elias knew without doubt that the greatest trial, the one that would test the limits of both skill and spirit, was still to come. The stars waited, vast and endless, and the human and the princess sailed toward them side by side, ready to face whatever challenges the universe would place before them. The spacecraft landed smoothly in Zephora's royal docking bay, the twin suns reflecting off its polished hull. Elias stepped out, his legs still stiff from the journey through the celestial labyrinth, but his heart was steady. Beside him, Princess Lyra moved with her usual grace, her glowing skin shimmering softly in the warm light of the afternoon. The palace had been transformed for a grand ceremony. Flags of many star systems waved gently in the breeze, and exotic plants lined the pathways, their colors brighter than usual. Aliens of every shape and size had gathered to witness the trial's conclusion, their eyes full of curiosity and expectation. Some murmured in surprise at the presence of a human, while others watched cautiously, unsure how this unusual event might unfold. Lyra's court had prepared a series of traditional tests and rituals, meant to honor Xipheran culture and reveal the true worthiness of the participants. Elias felt the weight of the occasion, but he also felt a quiet confidence. The trials in the gardens and in space had tested him in every possible way, and he had proven himself capable, courageous, and compassionate. Now it was a matter of showing respect and understanding, of navigating diplomacy and tradition. "You must remember, Elias," Lyra said softly, walking beside him, "this ceremony is not just a test of skill. It is a test of patience, humility, and respect. Your actions today will shape not only your fate, but also the view the Zephorans have of humans." Elias nodded. "I understand. I will do my best." The first part of the ceremony involved a formal greeting of the court. Elias stepped forward, bowing as best he could according to the instructions Lyra had given him. The courtiers studied him carefully, noting the human who had dared to whisper bold words and survive every trial. Some nodded in approval, while others whispered doubts. Elias's heart pounded, but he held his posture, his gaze steady, his tone respectful. Next came the ritual of offerings. Elias was presented with several small but significant gifts, each representing aspects of Xipheran culture: wisdom, loyalty, and unity. He was expected to respond in a way that honored both his humanity and the customs of Zephora. He chose to present a small crystal from Earth, a gem of rare beauty that had been polished by his own hands. "This comes from my home," he said, holding it carefully. "It is a symbol of respect, of friendship, and of the hope that our worlds can learn from each other." The courtiers exchanged surprised glances. It was a simple gesture, but it showed thoughtfulness, humility, and understanding. Lyra's smile widened, proud of the human who had dared so much to reach this moment. Then came the test of diplomacy. Certain factions in the court were skeptical of the human. They questioned whether a human could truly understand Xipheran values, whether he could honor their traditions, and whether his heart was strong enough to be entrusted with the princess's future. Elias was asked to speak before the assembly, explaining his intentions, his understanding of the trials, and his respect for Xipheran culture. Elias took a deep breath, his voice steady and clear. "I came to Zephora as an explorer, as a guest, and as a human willing to learn. I have faced the trials of courage, wisdom, and heart, not for glory, but to prove that I respect this world, its people, and its princess. I am not perfect, and I have much to learn, but I promise to approach every challenge with honesty, courage, and compassion. That is all I can offer." A hush fell over the assembly. His words were sincere, simple, and heartfelt. For a moment, skepticism faded. They saw not a stranger, but a being willing to rise above his limits, to understand and to respect. Even the most doubtful courtiers found themselves moved by the sincerity of his speech. Lyra stepped forward, her glowing eyes meeting his. "You have shown humility, intelligence, and courage. You have honored our culture, respected our traditions, and demonstrated that your heart is true. That is more than most can claim. Next came the symbolic union ritual. Lyra extended her hand to Elias, inviting him to stand beside her on a platform that hovered above a glowing pool of water. The platform was surrounded by floating lights and singing plants, which responded to the emotions of those present. Elias reached for her hand, feeling the warmth and strength in her grasp. It was a simple act, but it held weight beyond words. The final demonstration, Lyra said softly, is one of unity. You must work together, showing trust and cooperation. Only then will the trial be complete. Elias nodded, his heart steady. Together they activated the floating lights, guiding them into a pattern that represented harmony between humans and Zephyrians. The lights shimmered and swirled, responding to their combined movements. The court watched in awe as the human and the princess moved in perfect sync, demonstrating that partnership and trust could bridge even the greatest differences. But challenges were not yet over. A faction of courtiers still questioned the human's worthiness. They proposed a final test, a demonstration of problem-solving under pressure. A delicate structure, made of floating crystal and light, needed to be aligned perfectly to complete the ritual. One mistake could collapse the formation, symbolizing failure. Elias studied the structure, noting the patterns and mechanics. He glanced at Lyra, who nodded encouragement. Together they began to manipulate the pieces, carefully adjusting each one. The floating crystal shifted with precise timing, responding to their movements and thoughts. Every decision required patience, observation, and trust. A moment of tension arrived when one crystal began to wobble dangerously. Elias reacted instantly, using a human technique of balancing momentum and force, stabilizing it just in time. Lyra adjusted another piece simultaneously, and finally the structure aligned perfectly. Light radiated from the formation, bathing the platform in a warm, harmonious glow. The court erupted in applause, alien voices blending in a chorus of approval. Skeptical faces now showed admiration and respect. Elias had not only survived the trials, but he had demonstrated the best qualities of humanity: courage, intelligence, creativity, and empathy. Lyra turned to him, her eyes shining with pride. You have passed every trial, Elias. You have faced danger, solved challenges, and shown your heart. You are worthy. Elias felt a mix of relief, pride, and awe. He had come to Zephora as a curious human explorer, and now he stood on the threshold of something far greater, a bond that could unite two worlds. In a quiet moment, Lyra leaned close and whispered, a soft smile on her lips, then you will be... Elias's heart skipped a beat. He had waited for this moment, uncertain but hopeful. Yes? He asked softly. Lyra's glow seemed to brighten. My equal in heart and mind. The words filled him with warmth. It was more than a declaration of worthiness. It was a recognition of partnership, of respect, and of the potential for unity between species. He realized that the trials had tested not only his skill, courage, and compassion, but also the strength of his character and the sincerity of his heart. The ceremony continued with celebrations, music, and shared joy. Aliens of every kind came forward to offer congratulations, curious and fascinated by the human who had earned the princess's respect. Elias interacted politely, learning names, gestures, and customs, showing once more that humans could adapt, learn, and contribute meaningfully to interstellar society. As the day drew to a close, Elias and Lyra stood together on a balcony overlooking the palace gardens. The twin suns set, casting long shadows and turning the sky into shades of gold, pink, and violet. Below, the gardens shimmered, alive with soft lights and the gentle hum of alien flora. Lyra looked at Elias, her smile gentle and sincere. You have done more than I expected, she said. You have proven that humanity can rise to challenges and act with courage, wisdom, and heart. You are more than a human. You are a bridge between worlds. Elias felt a deep sense of purpose and pride. I could not have done it without you, he said softly. You guided me, trusted me, and allowed me to learn. I hope I can live up to your expectations. Lyra's hand rested lightly on his. You already have, she replied. And together we will face whatever comes next. There is much to learn, many challenges to meet, and many worlds to connect. But I believe we are ready. For the first time, Elias felt a sense of belonging, not just on Zephora, but in the greater galaxy. The trials had tested his limits, but they had also revealed the strength of humanity. the ability to rise above fear, to think creatively, and to act with compassion. In the presence of an advanced civilization, humans were not inferior. They were capable, courageous, and full of potential. As the stars began to twinkle in the Zephyran night, Elias looked at Lyra and felt a profound connection. The trials had ended, but the journey was only beginning. Together they would explore, learn, and inspire, showing that courage and heart could transcend worlds. And as they stood side by side, the glow of the palace lights reflecting in their eyes, Elias whispered quietly, "Whatever comes next, we can face it together." Lyra's smile, warm and radiant, was his answer. The human had earned his place not by strength alone, but by heart, mind, and courage. And in that moment a new chapter began, one that would unite humans and Zephyrans in ways no one had imagined. The palace of Zephora glowed under the light of the twin suns, preparing for a celebration unlike any the planet had seen before. Word had spread across the galaxy. A human had passed the trials and earned the respect of the Zephyran princess. Aliens from countless star systems traveled to witness the event, curious and excited to see how this union might shape the future. Elias stood beside Lyra on the grand balcony overlooking the palace gardens. The air was filled with music, laughter, and the subtle hum of alien technology. Banners fluttered in every color imaginable, and the gardens shimmered with lights that responded to the emotions of those present. Elias could feel the excitement, the anticipation, and the sense that something extraordinary was about to happen. Lyra turned to him, her glowing eyes reflecting pride and affection. "Are you ready for this, Elias?" she asked softly. "I've never been more ready for anything in my life," he replied, smiling. "This is incredible." The ceremony began with traditional Zephyran rituals. Courtiers and ambassadors from across the galaxy approached, offering gifts, words of encouragement, and blessings. Elias accepted each gesture with humility and respect, carefully learning the customs and responding with sincerity. Even the most skeptical Zephyran seemed impressed by his willingness to embrace their culture without losing his own humanity. Lyra guided him to the central platform, where the final ceremony of union would take place. The platform floated above a luminous pool, its surface shimmering with colors that changed with every movement and emotion. Here Elias would officially be recognized not only as worthy of the princess, but also as a partner in a bond that could unite worlds. "Elias," Lyra said, her voice calm but commanding, "this platform represents harmony, trust, and unity. Step onto it with respect and sincerity, and the trial of partnership will be complete." Elias nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. He stepped carefully onto the platform, feeling it respond to his presence. The lights shimmered and swirled, reflecting his heartbeat and emotions. Beside him, Lyra joined, and together they stood hand in hand, ready to complete the final act of the ceremony. The first part of the ritual required them to align floating symbols representing different worlds and species. Each symbol glowed with energy, and any misstep could disrupt the harmony of the display. Elias focused on the patterns, recalling lessons from the garden trials and the celestial labyrinth. His mind and heart guided his hands, moving with care and precision. Lyra mirrored his movements, and together they created a perfect pattern of unity. The platform glowed brighter, resonating with the approval of the assembled guests. Elias realized in that moment that the trials had been more than tests. They were lessons in trust, cooperation, and understanding. Next came the symbolic exchange of vows. Lyra's voice was soft, melodic, and filled with meaning. "Elias Ward, human of courage and heart, you have proven yourself worthy of Zephora. Do you vow to honor this bond, to respect our people, and to journey with me in partnership and friendship across worlds?" Elias took a deep breath. "I do," he said clearly, feeling the sincerity in every word. "I vow to respect this bond, to honor your people, and to explore, learn, and grow together with you." Lyra smiled, her glow brightening. "Then I, Lyra of Zephora, vow to journey with you, to guide and trust you, and to embrace the unity between our worlds." The crowd erupted in applause, the mixture of voices creating a harmony that filled the palace. Aliens of all shapes and sizes celebrated, some joining in song, others dancing, and many offering blessings. Elias felt a profound sense of connection, not just with Lyra, but with an entire galaxy that was beginning to see humans in a new light. The final act of the ceremony involved a symbolic flight over the palace gardens. Elias and Lyra boarded a small agile craft, designed to glide over the gardens, its lights reflecting their movement. As they soared above the glowing flora, the assembled guests watched in awe. The ship's path traced patterns of light that symbolized unity and harmony, a demonstration of cooperation, courage, and trust. Below, the gardens seemed to respond to their flight. The plants shimmered more brightly, the fountains glowed with renewed energy, and the lights danced in perfect rhythm. It was as if the planet itself was celebrating the union, acknowledging the promise of a new era. After the flight, Elias and Lyra returned to the platform, where they addressed the assembly together. Elias's voice was steady, confident, and filled with hope. "We have learned much from each other. Zephora has taught me courage, wisdom, and the importance of heart. I hope that in return I have shown that humans can be partners, allies, and friends to the galaxy." Lyra continued, her voice warm and proud. "Elias has proven that humanity has the potential to rise to challenges, to act with compassion, and to think with intelligence. Together, we will explore, learn, and build a future where our worlds can grow in understanding and harmony." The assembly erupted again in cheers. Elias felt a wave of pride and joy, realizing that this moment represented more than personal achievement. It represented the potential for humans to be recognized as capable, compassionate, and wise across the stars. As the sun set, casting long golden shadows across the gardens, Elias and Lyra stood side by side looking out over the celebrations. The twin suns dipped below the horizon, turning the sky into shades of pink, purple, and gold. It was a moment of quiet reflection amid the joy and excitement. "Elias," Lyra said softly, her glowing eyes meeting his, "you have done more than past trials. You have shown what humans are capable of. Courage, intelligence, and heart, these are qualities that shine even among the most advanced civilizations. I am proud to stand beside you." Elias felt a warmth spread through him. "I could not have done it without you, Lyra. You guided me, trusted me, and helped me see that even humans, so new to the galaxy, can rise to meet challenges and contribute in ways that matter." Lyra placed her hand over his, a gesture of unity and partnership. "This is just the beginning. Together we will continue to explore, learn, and inspire. Our worlds can grow closer, our people can understand each other, and we can show that courage and compassion transcend species." Elias nodded, feeling a sense of purpose that went beyond personal achievement. "I am ready," he said. "Whatever comes next, we will face it together." And so a new era began. Humans and Zyphorans, once distant and unfamiliar to each other, now stood united through trust, respect, and shared purpose. The trials had tested Elias, but they had also revealed the potential of humanity, a species capable of courage, wisdom, and heart, ready to explore the stars and contribute to the galaxy in meaningful ways. The celebrations continued late into the night. Aliens of every shape, size, and color danced, sang, and shared stories. Humans who had accompanied Elias looked on with pride, inspired by what one human had achieved. It was a moment that would be remembered across generations, a story of bravery, compassion, and the possibility of unity between worlds. As the festivities wound down, Elias and Lyra returned to a quiet balcony, overlooking the glowing gardens. The stars twinkled above, and the soft hum of Zyphora's life filled the air. Elias felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The trials had been difficult, dangerous, and demanding, but they had also shown that humans could rise to challenges, act with intelligence and heart, and inspire respect even among advanced civilizations. Lyra looked at him, her smile gentle and radiant. "Elias, you have proven that the heart is the strongest force of all. It connects us, guides us, and allows us to rise above fear and doubt. You have not only earned my respect, you have earned a place in the story of Zephora." Elias felt his chest swell with pride and gratitude. "And you have shown me that the universe is full of possibilities, Lyra. That courage, kindness, and understanding can create bonds that change worlds." I am ready for whatever comes next." Lyra's glow brightened as she nodded. "Then we face the future together. As partners, as friends, as a bridge between our worlds." Elias smiled, feeling a profound connection to her and to the possibilities that lay ahead. He realized that this was not just a personal triumph. It was a triumph for humanity, a shining example of what humans could achieve when they acted with courage, intelligence, and heart. The twin suns dipped fully below the horizon, leaving the stars to shine brightly over the palace. Elias and Lyra stood together hand in hand, ready to embrace the challenges, adventures, and discoveries that awaited them. In that moment, humanity's potential shone across the galaxy, not through conquest or power, but through courage, ingenuity, and compassion. Elias had whispered words in a garden, faced trials across land and space, and emerged as a symbol of hope, a proof that humans, even in a vast and mysterious galaxy, could rise to greatness. And as he looked at Lyra, her eyes glowing with trust and affection, he knew that together they would explore the stars, unite worlds, and inspire generations to come. A new era had begun, an era of unity, discovery, and hope. And humanity was at its heart.